Hello knitters, Faye Lim from Strands Knitting Studio in San Clemente, California. And today I have classes and what's on my needle, so stay tuned. Okay, what's on my needles? I'm knitting with our llama yarn because I couldn't resist. And I'm knitting this pattern. It's called Dover. And I've got my first half done. So you're knitting the whole thing, it's all knit. And lo and behold, there's German short rows. So it does this really great striping thing. And then like this is the first half of it. So it'll be like, that's the first half of it. And then I'm gonna make the second half of it. But it's all knit, so that part's really easy. It's a German short row, but there are not very many of them. And yeah, that you'll get it down. This is actually a really good project to do it because it's not confusing because you're not going on this side and doing them and going on this side. You're always doing them at the end of the point here. So it's not at all confusing, but isn't that really nice? Yeah, so, and it's all knit, so this is great. So this is Dover, and no, I'm not doing a class because it takes a long time to get to the point where you're actually doing a short row. Yeah, you got to do something. So if you need help, just come in. I'll help you do the short row. The rest of it's easy. It's just knitting, and you're changing color every 2 rows. So you're just picking up the color. When you come to this end over here, you pick up your other color. You knit 2 rows. Pick up another color. Knit 2 rows, and then at the end here, you progressively get shorter rows and shorter rows and shorter rows and shorter rows, and then you sort of have to do the opposite on this other side. So it's a very lovely, lovely pattern. And the yarn is, I love this yarn. So, and you have plenty. I doubled this yarn because you would only still need 1 skein of each because there's so much yardage on here. And I will still have some left over, so maybe I can do some fingerless mitts with them or something. But yeah, 2 skeins and a lovely, lovely shawl. Okay, and I'm gonna stick with the llama now. So we have a Fair Isle hat. The company sent us the Fair Isle hat. It also has the cowl that goes with it. So I'm gonna make this into a stranded Fair Isle class so you can learn to do Fair Isle because this is a pretty easy Fair Isle pattern. So you'll need one of three different colors. So you need 3 skeins, which means you could do a couple of these, or you could do the cowl, add the cowl. You'll have to add more skeins, but you could also do, or a shorter cowl or something like that. And so you'll need to have the yarn and you'll need to cast on and have done your rib so that when we actually start class, we're starting with the stranded part, not just ribbing our hat, because that could take an hour right there or 2. So you want to come to class with your hat casted on and your rib up to your rib, and that looks like it's like 2 inches of rib, and then we'll start the Fair Isle part. And so stranding isn't hard, and you're reading a chart, but it's colors. Like it's 1 white, 1 brown, 1 white, 1 brown, 1 white, 1 brown. So it's easy to read. And once you get the hang of it, it's so much fun. I love doing stranded work. It's a lot of fun and it's not as hard as it looks, which means you get something that looks amazing that wasn't like so taxing. My favorite is patterns that look way harder than they are. And so Fair Isle can do that because it's just not that hard. So that class is on Fair Isle is April 12th. Yeah, sorry, it's April 12th, which is a Sunday from 10 to 12. So that gives you plenty of time to come in, get the yarn, and get your hat casted on and the rib done. And if you need help with it, come to a workshop before the class, and that'll solve that. All right, so I'm gonna start the cable. We have a cable blanket class, and here's a picture of the blanket. It's amazing. Now, this is a good intermediate class. You need to be very comfortable with your knitting, and I mean, it is cables. Cables aren't hard, but these can start getting, and we start with the easier ones because there's definitely a few that are way easier than the ones that towards the end of the blanket that we'll be doing, but you're just gonna build up, you know. So we're gonna start the cable blanket. We use Cascade 220 Aran, and it comes in lots of colors. I highly suggest you do a pretty neutral color because this is an heirloom blanket. You will have put so much time and love and work in this, and this is a blanket that's going to get kept forever. And so having it more neutral, because the colors of the times, you know, they're popular change over time, right? But if it's a cream or a taupey blanket, a really light tan blanket or anything like that, then it goes in everybody's. They're not going to go, I don't want it because it's the wrong color, you know? So I highly suggest you do a very neutral color. But you can also do whatever you want. That's just my suggestion, and I've had people do other colors and they're beautiful. You will want to keep it on the lighter side so that you can see all the cabling. You're not going to want to pick a darker color because you won't be able to see it, all that work. It won't show up quite as well. But the cream color is the one most of us did. And yeah, so it's gonna, I think it takes 12 skeins. It might take 13. I'm gonna say 13 skeins of these. So you get a bag of 10 plus 3 and skeins for the whole thing. This class is a 1.5-year project. We're not meeting every month, but we're meeting, at the beginning we're meeting monthly, but then pretty quickly we'll put 2 months, 2 months between the class, and then towards the end we're even putting like 3 months between. That's why it gets to be out to a 1.5 years, because that's a lot. So the pressure isn't near as much as like the blanket class where every month you got to get the 2 blocks done. Just at the beginning, there'll be some, and part of that's the learning curve and just getting this down. Okay, the other thing that you will need to be able to do is you've got to be able to have the pattern be digital. And that means it needs to be on an iPad or something else, but iPads are what I know to what works, and if you're on something else, I mean, we can figure it out, but I don't know PC stuff at all. So I've been on an Apple my entire life. So iPads are great, but it does need to be digital. You cannot do this with paper. It does not Xerox out well, and it's just, it doesn't work. This is so much better digitally. The other thing that's good about it is you can enlarge the chart, so you can enlarge it as big as you want it, and you can move the pattern back and forth so that you can keep track of where you're at. So there's a lot of perks with going digital. So the way we're going to work this is the first class will be April 19th. And it's going to be a 3-hour class from 9 to 12, and which is a Sunday. And then, so on that day, we're going to set up the pattern on the iPad and start marking it so you can understand what you're marking. Because I put up here, see how we color coded the cables. You have to color code your cables, and it makes life so much easier. And so we've got to get that figured out and get that going. Then it's always an I-cord cast on. So we're going to get the I-cord casted on, hopefully, or at least started and stuff. So the next week, or I think it's 2 weeks later, that we do another class where we actually really get into the cable part and start actually knitting the block. But we have to have the setup class and get everything all ready and that you understand and all that kind of good stuff. So that's the fiddly class, and it's sort of fiddly. So there's going to be a learning curve, especially if you're not used to using digital patterns and stuff. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But once we get going, a cable is a cable. They do weird stuff with them, but they're still just a cable. And the first block is the easiest block. I think there's 3 cables in it, so it's not like there's massive number of cables like there are later on, but I think there's just 3 of them, and it's relatively simple. And if you did the blanket class, you're not gonna have any problem with this. All right, so that's that. So we need to know if you're interested, and we'll be ordering yarn. Well, I think you can come in anytime and pick out your colors. Like if you know you're gonna do cream, you can call in or text me or whatever. I want cream. But if you want to look at colors, you'll come in and look at our color card and pick out colors. And at some point, I don't know what the point is at right now, that we will order the yarn so that it's in by the first class. So cable class, again, this is not a beginner class. This is an advanced, I would say it's advanced beginner to an intermediate to an advanced person can love doing this. So anywhere up that, but you need to be at least an advanced beginner kind of person and pretty comfortable with your knitting and your, you've done some cabling. Some, doesn't have to be a lot, just something. And yeah, so that's where this class is sort of geared towards that. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about this as I go on here the next couple weeks to get it going. And I'll have some blocks in here so you can see them. Mine isn't sewn up yet. Mine's not actually finished yet, but I have all the blocks done. So I'll have some blocks in here so you can look at it. But it is a stunning blanket because I just love this blanket because it's not just square, square, square. It's got the different size squares, which makes it just beautiful. And then that border looks a lot, but it actually went really fast for almost everybody. And the border is the last thing we do. So you're going to be no problem with the border by the time you get there. So if you think you'd be interested, sort of start pondering this because it's a fun class, and you just learn, you learn how to do all this pretty intricate stuff that looks way more intricate than it really is, but it's enough to scare people off, like going, oh my God, I can't do that. So you can get past that and you just end up with this amazing, amazing, beautiful blanket that would just be handed down forever because it's beautiful, especially if it's in cream. So that starts on April 19th. That'll be our setup class, is April 19th. So that'll be the start of it. You don't have to have anything casted on by then. You just need your yarn and your iPad, and we will go from there. So think about it. It's awful fun. Okay, and that's it for today, and I hope to see you in the studio real soon. Bye.